Hey guys, it's Steffi. We're gonna kind of explain today how I got into hiking and why I love it so much. I know over like the last year or so, I've been posting a lot of pictures of where I've been going and just like little day hikes here and there. And I always felt like it was such a random thing for me to get into because aside from like camping with my family, it's not a thing that I was super obsessed with at any point in my life until like a really random road trip that my sister decided to plan. She kind of took me along with her and it was really fun, and it changed a lot about how I view life and the things that I enjoy doing. So this is what that video is about. So just a little bit about myself. I'm 27 years old. I was raised in Oklahoma my whole life. Always kind of like taken on camping trips with my family. Never anything really crazy. We would just like go to the lake, hang out, fish, go swimming, inner tubing, stuff like that. Just like kind of outdoorsy stuff. We would go on small hikes here and there, like on vacations. We would do little trails that were like some big tourist spots. Still fun, but just kind of like touristy kind of hiking things. Nothing really crazy. The first trail, I would say, like actual trail that I went on that wasn't like a concrete sidewalk created for people, was a trip that my sister took me and my husband on. We went with her. We visited Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico, and just kind of like hit a lot of the highlights as far as hot spots for hiking. Like we went to Zion National Park. We went to Moab, the Arches National Park in Utah. Really beautiful places. They like really changed how I look at nature, how I look at the outdoors, and just like really impacted me in a way that I didn't think was possible for nature to impact someone. So I'm going to talk about a couple of those places. The trip was in May of 2018. First, I'm going to talk about Zion. Zion National Park is located in Utah, and it is, I think one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. We hiked up to the upper Emerald Pools. Is 3 miles round trip, so it's 1.5 miles up to the pool and then 1.5 miles back. I just remember the incline on the upper Emerald Pool was so steep at some points, and it was so hot. We went in May, which you wouldn't think would be hot, but for some reason that day, like I remember days where I was like wearing a hoodie outside because it felt really nice. And then the day that we did that, it was just so hot outside, and part of the incline is made of these steps that are just made of like sand and pebbles, and it's not shaded, and so you just like feel the heat like glaring off of all the sand and all the rock, and it was just so nuts. Like I was saying, it's pretty steep. There's a 350-foot elevation gain, so obviously like from sea level it's a lot higher than that, but from your starting point to your ending point of being at the pools, you personally will gain 350 feet. So at some points it was really steep, and it got really hot and really frustrating for me because that was like one of the first big hikes that I had ever gone on. And at that point I was thinking like, oh, I've gone 3 miles before, it's not a big deal, but 3 miles up a sandy slope is a lot different than just like walking 3 miles or even jogging 3 miles. Even out in the sun, it's so much harder than jogging 3 miles when your pace is so much slower. You're in the sand, you're going upstairs, you're going up a mountain, like there's no shade, you're with other people. There's like all different kinds of terrain, and so it's just a lot different than if you were just like to walk 3 miles. The second place I went on that trip that like really impacted me was a place called Arches National Park. A lot of people refer to it as Moab. It's like an area in Utah that has these massive natural arches. We hiked to a place called Landscape Arch. It's 2 miles round trip, plus an area of primitive trail that's optional. There's some paved parts, and then there's some places that are sandy, and then there's also some places that are just stone and boulders. So most of it was sandy. It was clearly marked. There's so many people that go there. It's like, I don't think there's a single chance of you ever getting lost on those kind of trails. I remember getting to the end of the marked trail, not the primitive trail, but just like the landscape arch trail, thinking like it wasn't very challenging, and we didn't want to just go out there and do something really easy and then like take a couple really pretty pictures and go home. So my sister saw the primitive trail sign and she was like, oh, let's do that. And in my head I was thinking like, oh my God, I think I might actually die. Like, I had no idea what it was. I had never gone on a primitive trail before, but I'm so glad we did. It was beautiful. We kind of like get off the sandy path, climb up a couple little like bouldery rock areas, and then there was this, I think I have a picture of it, there was this rock incline. You just like walk up until you get to the top, and then there was this big platform that we walked out on, like Lion King or something. Oh gosh, that was, just as far as views go, it was just like such a payoff to go up this like steep rocky area and then to get to this place where you could just like see this whole view of like all these rocks and arches and just these like formations that, I mean, living in Oklahoma my whole life and then moving to Texas, there's just not a lot of formations like what we saw that day, and it was so beautiful, and it like really, really impacted me in like the cheesiest way you could think of. It was really cool being up there, feeling the wind in your hair. It's such like a elevated place that I wasn't used to, and being up there with my husband and my sister and knowing that we just like all did this really hard thing together, and it felt so good. And I was like out of water and my heart rate was through the roof. But it was so cool and it was so beautiful. It's really cool that there's like these huge formations that kind of push up out of the earth, and you have these like wonderful views of them, and then looking at them you just feel almost like they're like asking you to come explore them, to like come walk around on them. It's almost like compels you to push yourself a little harder, knowing that God created these things for us to experience, to see how big and massive He is. And so to look at those things and to not want to explore them is mind-boggling to me. Like, I don't understand it. It's just such a weird feeling looking at something and thinking, I need to be there. It almost was comparable to the first time I really remember watching like a Disney movie. Thinking like, man, I wish that was my real life. Like, I wish I could really experience all that crazy stuff that happens in the Disney movies. And then here I am experiencing something really magical and just really insane, and something that is like so just not comparable to anything else that I've ever seen. So coming back from that trip, I was kind of on a high. If you've ever lived in a place like Colorado or Utah or New Mexico or Arizona, there's just such different landscape over there, and like ecosystems, and just such different, I mean, it's just a different world. And then coming back to somewhere that at most it has some hills. I mean, it's beautiful. Texas has the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen in my whole life. But coming from a place where I got to experience the mountains for a week, I was like in another world. Immediately I went to YouTube and I was like, who are other people that have hiked or gone on trails or bouldered or rock climbs, or like, who are some, hi cat, say hello. Immediately I got on YouTube and I thought, who are some people that I can kind of look at for inspiration and look at and say, how did they get to where they're at? How do they experience all the things that they experience? How do they go on adventures? How do they manage to find what they find and explore what they explore? So I started kind of digging around and researching different people, and a few people that I really, really love watching are Jessica Mills, which her trail name is Dixie. She has a YouTube channel called Homemade Wanderlust. She's wonderful. She's done the Appalachian Trail, she's done the Pacific Crest Trail, she's done the Continental Divide Trail. Just for a little reference, that's like a lot of miles. The Appalachian Trail takes you from North Georgia to like mid-Maine, and it is 2,190 miles. The Pacific Crest Trail, I have it written down because I have a horrible memory. The Pacific Crest Trail takes you from the bottom, like the border of South California, to the border of Canada, which is nuts. That's 2,650 miles. And then the Continental Divide Trail, which is supposedly the most difficult. You go through a lot of deserty areas and it's really long and just hard, and there's not a lot of people that do it. It's 3,100 miles, and that takes you from New Mexico to the south border of Canada. And she has a lot of trails under her belt, under her shoes, I guess. And then another person that's done those same things, I believe his channel is called Darwin on Trail. His name is Darwin. If you're interested in trail stuff and hiking things, they have so many informational videos. It's like incredible watching their channels and just like learning all of the wisdom that they've soaked up from experiencing all the things that they've gone through. So I kind of like look to them as references, as influencers. Anytime I need more information on outdoors, I kind of go to their channels and dig around and do some research from them. Moving forward, I mean, I don't have the AT, the PCT or the CDT on my horizon by any means, but I mean, I do have a couple goals that I would like to reach. Something really basic that I would like to do is just get more comfortable with my gear. My biggest goal, I would say, is to hike Guadalupe Peak at Guadalupe National Park in West Texas. It's 8,700 feet above sea level, and then hiking it from base to peak, it takes about 6 to 8 hours. It's 8.5 miles round trip, and the elevation gain that you personally climb is 2,800 feet plus a couple miles, or plus a couple feet. So I would really like to hike Guadalupe Peak, highest point in Texas. I think that would be just something that'd be really cool to have under my belt, to feel like really proud of myself, like a win, to kind of, I guess, throttle me forward to do more. I would like to say that I'll train for it, but honestly, I've seen people completely unprepared go do it, so I don't feel like it would be a huge feat. I do feel like I would need to pack enough water because it's supposed to be really tiring. So hopefully I'll be able to do that soon. So Zion National Park just like really impacted me. Arches National Park really impacted me. Just beautiful places that really made me look at nature in a different way and made me realize that I can do more than I think I can. And I realized that nature is not as scary as I thought it was. It's somewhere that's like welcoming you to come explore it, to come find out more about it. And I would invite you guys to do the same. I think you'll learn a lot about yourself. I think you'll learn a lot about what you're capable of, what you're not capable of, what you need to get better at, how strong you are, what your endurance level is. I don't think life is something that you need to just kind of like wave at as it passes you by. I think if you see something and you think it's magical and you want to go give it a try, I think you should go give it a try. Even if you're horrible at it, even if it sucks the first time, then like just keep doing it until it's better, like until you're good at it. Hiking is one of those things that I don't feel like I'm good at it, but it's something that I really enjoy, and it's something that I feel I'm just like meant to do, because I don't know, it just gives me some of those experiences where for some reason whenever I'm doing it, it's really hard, and then 5 minutes later I look back at what I just did and I'm so proud of myself, and I just like look at the scenery around me and I just try to like soak it in and really enjoy creation, I guess. So if you guys have any questions about Zion, if you guys have any questions about Arches, I could talk about it all day. I just tried to give you guys a couple of facts and some pictures of what it looked like and what my experience was. Hopefully I can do some actual walkthroughs and footage of me hiking around. I just got a tripod, so hopefully I can get some footage of me actually experiencing parks and not just talking about them. If you have a different idea of content that you would like to see, please let me know by leaving me a message. Whether it's this week or next week, I just want to challenge you guys to get out, look around you, explore some new stuff, and see what you can find, because I think it would surprise you how beautiful things can be. But that's me, and those are the parks that I love, and that's how I got into hiking. Bye.
Where are we at? Freaking Arches.